You guys, we are in another Monday, and I'm gonna have to edit the first part because YouTube was saying that we were not live. And so then I had to go back and start it all over, and we were live. And so, whatever, I'm here in the flesh. Look, I tell everybody progress over perfection, okay? Until I have somebody doing all this stuff for me, and that's coming. You get me, and you get me with all my flaws. So here we are in the flesh. And today's topic is near and dear to my heart because, as a coach who tends to coach people who are either building a business or desire to build a business, myself, these are things that I've had to coach myself on. Because as life happens, we tend to allow distractions in. Okay. So I'm not going to go too far into that just yet. You got to wait for it. But the premise behind today's Monday Mindset is something that I was thinking about through a conversation I actually just had earlier. I always say people give me content. And we were talking about, the overwhelm and being everything for everybody and, you know, what is the value of our peace and how do we get to that? And one of the things that I said was, well, I started finding my peace when I started letting go of distractions. And those distractions, all right, you guys, I'll tell you this. Those distractions can come in the form of people, not just things, people. All right. So, what is peace? Peace is mental, emotional, spiritual well being. That should be what we're striving for in life. It's not even about, I mean, yeah, we need money to live and have, things and be able to do things and, have that flexibility. But ultimately, it's peace that we should be really running after. So I'm gonna ask you one question, and I really want you to ponder this, okay? And I've had to ask myself this, so I just want you to know these are things that I've gone through. Okay. I will never come in here, do a video, or you will never see anything in any of my courses or any of my trainings or any of my live calls or anything that I speak about that I have not personally used. And most likely, if it was helping me, I still use it. So these are all things that I've gone through. These are things that I've encountered personally. And that's why I speak on these topics. All right. So when I ask you this question, I want you to know that this is coming from a place of somewhere I've been and where I can still go if I'm not careful. That last part is the important part because healing is a journey. We can still fall backwards. All right. So, how far am I allowing myself to go? So, here's the question that I want to ask you. Have you ever chased a paycheck so hard that you didn't realize it was costing you your peace and maybe even your purpose? I'm going to tell you guys a story. I got licensed as a real estate agent on February 22nd, 2022. Okay. I had just gone through the year before, I had just gone through EMDR, which is a trauma type of trauma therapy, and I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, chronic depression, and anxiety disorder. Okay. Now, I will tell you those diagnoses do not define me. And I always tell anybody if you ever get diagnosed with anything, that does not define you. It just gives you an awareness about some things that you may need to prepare for, be aware of, have tools to help you through, right? But if you don't know they're there, you don't know if they're there, it's very difficult to work on them. So I went through that therapy in order to get some clarity on my life. I was having suicidal tendencies before I went to therapy, and I didn't really know why things tended to pile up on me like they were. Okay. So I'm backtracking a little bit, so stay with me, okay? So at the end of 2021, on December 24th, 2021, I actually looked in the mirror and took a gun and put it up my chin. Now, if you've watched the YouTube intro that I did a long time ago, you already know this. Hopefully, you've watched it. So that shouldn't have been a surprise what I just said. Okay. Now, I will say it was not loaded. I'm a visual person and it was so much. EMDR was so much. I tell people now, I'm so grateful that I found the Cortina method, even NET. Like, I mean, the methods are great, but EMDR is, I mean, I had 40 years of trauma, you guys, that I'd never tapped into. So at the age of 43, here I was for the first time tapping into like everything. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot. So it became too much at the end, and my family was gone and I was by myself, and that's where the enemy can get you, okay? I was by myself, and that's where everything happened. But out of that, because this it doesn't matter how many times we fall, it's how many times we get back up, right? So out of that, in 2022, I said, you know what? I will never allow myself to get back to that time where I looked in the mirror. Now, I'm gonna tell you what I thought of as I looked in the mirror. The first thing I thought of was, I'm here to take care of my dog. That's why I stayed back and the family went. And if I'm not here, who's going to take care of my dog? That was my first thought. And I know it's kind of funny, right? Funny, but not funny. My second thought, though, that's the one that got me. That's the one that really was just like eye opening. The second thought was, what if my daughter walked in first? Now, if you were coming on this video and you weren't expecting this, surprise, expect the unexpected when it comes to me. Okay, you should know this already. So I'm just telling you this because I know that point of rock bottom. And I've hit it a couple of times, but that was the worst one. That was the worst one. Yeah, I kind of hit rock bottom well, what I thought was rock bottom in 2019. But out of that, I published a book. I hit another rock bottom in 2021. I started going to therapy. But it wasn't until the end of 2021. And when I said that, I meant the beginning of 2021. The end of 2021 is where I hit the furthest I had ever hit, where I actually took action and got the visual. That's where I said I would never allow myself to get again. Now, I will say I still struggle with depression. It still exists within me. So when you see me working out and you see me getting out and you see me going and networking and doing the things, even these videos, this gives me purpose. And guess what? That's the second word, purpose. Why do we do what we do? I love to help people. It gives me purpose to know that I'm helping others. If I am not helping others, if I am not and I know I need to be invited now to help others because I can't inject myself on everyone like I used to think that I could. But I learned the hard way that is not a great idea. And it pulls from the first word, which is peace. So be careful with that. The third word is the one that I hear most often that keeps people from receiving peace through operating in their purpose. And that is the need for a paycheck. The paycheck is the income that we earn. But what are the trade-offs that come with that paycheck? What are we trading off? And this is where I've had to get real with myself because I mean, you've seen it. If you've followed me for any amount of time, you've seen that sometimes it looks like I'm all over the place. It's because I'm trying to make ends meet, to be absolutely real. But the closer I've gotten to God, I'm understanding that, okay, if I keep allowing distractions, which I'm going to go back to the real estate thing. So that's where I'm going with this. Okay. If I'm going to allow the distractions, how am I going to truly get to my purpose? Because if I'm gaining peace, peace leads to clarity. Clarity allows us to operate in our purpose. And if we are doing that sustainably and consistently, that can be our paycheck. But if we're continuing to be distracted because we're chasing other paychecks, that can take us away from our purpose. Okay. So where I was going with the real estate thing, I wanted to tell the backstory of where I was mentally before I got my license, because a lot of people, they just see the things, right? Like they see the highlight reel. Oh, she got licensed. Yes, but there was a lot of reasons. There was a lot of things that happened before that that led me to get licensed. That license was a commitment that I had made to myself to see if I could do it. Well, I did it. And I had to work through that too because I had test anxiety and I had to work through the test because if anybody's taking the real estate test, it is not an easy test. So there was other things that I became aware of back in the day when I was in physician assistant school, which helped me prepare and take this test as I was taking it. Okay. So after I passed the test, now I had so many brokerages contacting me. What I didn't know at that point was that I was valuable to them. I was valuable to them. Now, that was something that I needed to understand before I accepted just anything, because what happened was I accepted the first offer and it ended up completely taking my peace. I was completely overwhelmed. I was working from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day. Nothing was coming about it. I honestly don't desire to be one of those people that cold calls people. That's just who I am. I'd rather hire somebody else to do that. It just wasn't where I needed to be in that season of my life. But because I was still operating in a people pleaser mode, I didn't want to quit because then I would be a failure. I hope you're listening to some of the things I'm saying because these are lies that I was telling myself. Okay. So after a bit of a stint with that brokerage, we decided, me and them decided that I was not the greatest fit for them because I was, at that time, I had my podcast going. I was coaching other personal trainers to build their businesses. I These were things that I love to do, by the way. I was, I believe I was working for a nonprofit at the time, but I can't remember this, so don't quote me on that one. I was actually because that was the issue. I remember now. That was the issue. I was volunteering with another local nonprofit, and because I couldn't be in the office all day long, they decided that I wasn't the greatest fit. And now looking back, I know for a fact that was not a great fit for me because I had done all that work the previous year to learn how to value myself, and I fell right back into the same trap. I ended up in 2022, I ended up at a workshop that a good friend of mine, Michelle Speaks, was hosting. Michelle Speaks with a Z. Go check her out. She was hosting, and I met another woman who, interestingly, was named the same name as my sister who died at birth. For anybody that knows that story, when I was 7, her birthday is actually coming up, August 15th. Can't believe it's been that long. It's been 40 years. She would have been 40 this year. So anyway, I met this woman. Her name was Morgan. And come to find out, she was at another brokerage. So I contacted them and it was a better fit. I told them, I was like, these are the things that I currently do. And this is where I'm currently at, and that is not working out very well. I was like, I want to learn. I'm a student for life. You will always, I literally spend probably 90% of my time learning. And we should be, right? So anyway, what ended up happening was I started helping more realtors than I was people buy and sell a house. Back then, there weren't as many, I didn't have as many connections with, investors and things like that. So I didn't know that there was a whole lot more ways to get people into a home at that point. So the women that I was coming in contact with to help, they were not in a position to buy just yet. Right? I can relate to that. Back then, I did not have the same connections, like I said. So what happened was I wasn't able to help them like I wanted to, but I was able to help them in other ways. And I was able to help the other realtors around me. And that woke back up number two, which was purpose. Helping them gave me purpose. I'm helping people. So in 2022, I ended up putting my license in referral status, and I literally just took it back out the end of last year. All right. But with that being said, I found out very quickly that being involved in a real estate transaction directly is also a direct distraction from where God is trying to take me. And another D word, it disrupted my peace. While I was up in Atlanta, Georgia, speaking at a youth conference, I was having to figure out things involving this real estate transaction. And that's where I decided if I'm going to continue in that space, I am going to need an assistant. And that's what I will have going forward. I chased the paycheck and that disrupted my peace. And that's not the first time that's happened. We operate out of necessity, right? So whatever's going on in our lives, we take action based on those events, right? So if I am facing financial hardship, you're probably going to see me have to venture out. But what I've realized is what I really, really need to do, and this is where I finally came to this conclusion. I really just need to focus on where God is trying to take me. Because if I focus, the paychecks will come. If I focus using my gifts and what I love to do, what comes easy to me. You guys, I can build a whole back office in my sleep now. Thank you, Matthew Curran. Thank you for being communities. I have to give everybody credit for that. But I can do that now easily. I build a strategy. I mean, I can take a whole organization, put it inside of a box, and we got a whole freaking training program that people can take. That's magical. I love it. I'm also able to work with other people. I have an assistant. I'm able to empower her. I'm able to encourage her. I'm able to get her to help me out. And so then I'm giving her purpose because she's doing what she loves. One of the things that I say now, this was not the case always, okay? But I now have non-negotiables. My peace is not up for negotiation anymore. Not. I know I'm valuable. That was something else that I had to work on. I know I'm worth great things. I deserve great things. I'm a good person. I just needed to believe that. When we believe those things, we can operate in a different way. Now, I'll also say during the time that I was learning these things, I found out who my real friends were and who they weren't. It's interesting, right? So all I had to do was get my peace as a non-negotiable. Money cannot buy peace. And now I say I cannot put a price tag on my peace. There's no amount of money worth my peace now because I've worked too hard to get here and nobody gets to take that away from me anymore, including me. What was I allowing? Money can't buy peace, but losing peace can cost us far more than money. Think about it. When you're not operating in peace, when you're chaotic, when your mind's bringing chaos, and that's where I lived my entire life, right? When you're not bringing peace in your life, you're affecting not only yourself because of stress and overwhelm and burnout, you're also affecting those around you. We think we got it all together, but it's really seeping out and it'll seep out in different areas. That's where you really have to wake up. The hidden expenses of stress, health problems, burnout, strained relationships. You guys, I'm separated right now because he is also experiencing some of the similar things because he's chasing a paycheck. And I see it because I've been there and I can still go there because we still have things that we got to pay for. But we got to be careful. What's the purpose? What is our purpose? Studies now show that chronic stress increases risk of heart disease, anxiety, and depression. Okay, that is from the American Psychology Association. So, what I had to understand was if I've already been diagnosed with chronic depression and anxiety disorder, giving my peace away was causing more stress, which was causing those to peak. I'll let you ponder that for a minute. All right, we're going to move on because I try to keep these a little bit shorter. I'm not doing so great at that, but I'm going to get there, you guys. All right. Purpose. Purpose must be our compass. Because when I'm not operating out of my purpose, guess what? I'm going off course and it's like Google Maps, recalculating. But what happens? What happens when you don't follow the recalculation on Google Maps? You go off into the wilderness. You get lost. You guys, this is biblical, okay? I'm not making this up. Like I said, I've lived it. I could easily fall back into the trap. I told my broker, I said, hey, look, this is what I'm going to focus on. Not that, this. Now, I will say the broker that I'm with now, they're very open-minded. They understand that, hey, she's got a thing. She's doing what she loves to do. And she might not be all up into this, but she's doing what she loves to do. And so they leave me alone. They let me do me, and I love it. It's beautiful. And then I'm like, how can I help you? How can I help your purpose? How can I help, you know, how can I help the other realtors? I love that. That's great. Purpose has to be your compass. Purpose fuels sustainable motivation. What happens when you're not operating in your purpose? The paycheck becomes an anchor instead of a reward. How many of us have been anchored to a paycheck? I have. I didn't enjoy working on the flight line in the Air Force, but I got paid twice a month, all the time. So there you go. All right. Many people earn good money but still feel empty because their work isn't aligned with their values or their passions. Employees with a strong sense of purpose are 3 times more likely to stay engaged. That's one of the studies that was done. Employees with a strong sense of purpose. So look yourself in the mirror and say, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm involved in, wherever I work, do I have a strong sense of purpose there? If you can answer yes, that's probably a really great fit for you. But here's what I really want you to think about. And this is something that happened to me. If the paycheck disappears tomorrow, would I still want to be doing this work? And maybe it looks a little bit different, right? Like I left the Air Force as a medical lab tech. Now I'm not still operating as a medical lab tech, but what did that allow me to do? It allowed me to help people. It allowed me to still operate in my purpose because I was able to provide doctors with information about their patients that they wouldn't have received otherwise. And being a caregiver for my mom many years ago, I've seen what those labs do, right? But when that paycheck disappeared, what did I do? Well, I'm still helping people. That's my purpose. It can look different. Doesn't have to look, it's not going to look exactly the same for everybody. I'm a problem fixer. What's your problem? And I'm going to come up with the best way to fix it with you. We're going to collaborate on it. And if I can't find the problem, if I can't find a way to fix the problem, I bet you I know somebody that can. Let me get back to you. And I operated like that in the military as well. I don't have all the answers, but I'm a good researcher and I have a lot of connections. All right. The paycheck should be a tool, not a trap. There's nothing wrong with chasing income. We all need it, right? We got bills. But the danger of that is, like I said, in that first brokerage, okay? The danger of that is when it dictates your life at the expense of your peace and your purpose. Yeah, I was showing up, I was doing the work, but everything else that I had been working on that gave me peace and gave me purpose and was leading to paychecks got put to the back burner. When my purpose went away, I was struggling. Many business owners create their own corporate trap. So here's a big one. I fell into this trap and I can still fall into this trap. Okay. As a business owner, we may not be working under someone else, but what we sometimes end up doing is just creating another job for ourselves that leads to burnout, stress, and overwhelm. And eventually we don't enjoy it as much as we did. I've done that as a personal trainer, as a group fitness instructor. I've done that. I created a job for myself and it was great at first, but then it got to be a lot. I loved that in Okinawa, Japan, my name was, very well known. I loved it. That was great. But I started bringing in too many people, too many clients, and then I began getting overwhelmed because, I was trying to show up for my daughter, I was trying to show up for me, I was bodybuilding, so it became a lot. So I had to start creating some balance. And that's where To Be Epic Fitness and Nutrition came about. That was how I created the balance because now I had a way to operate with people, not just face to face, but also through an app. That worked out. Now I've just joined First Form and I still operate with people through an app. It's just not the To Be Epic app, it's the First Form app, which gives me even more balance because they already have a lot of stuff created in there and I just get to be the advisor. That's great for me. Figure out what works, figure out how to not create another job for yourself, another corporate trap. Be careful because we can all fall into that. And I still can fall into it. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 60% of entrepreneurs, business owners, report mental health struggles due to overwork and financial pressure. Anybody been there? want you to think about, am I working for the money or is the money working for me? One of the things that I finally learned how to do, or I'm learning how to do, I'm not going to say learned, that's not past tense, it's probably going to be a journey for a while, is I have learned how to make my money work for me. So now, as money comes in, now I'm in the situation I'm in right now. I'm still, I'm paying off some things, but I'm also learning how to make my money work for me. What can I get involved in that makes my money make more money? They don't teach these things in school, right? Find your alignment, peace, purpose, paycheck. Audit your commitments. What's draining you and what's fueling you? Set your boundaries. Your peace is part of your wealth. Your health is your wealth. Peace is part of health. Mental wellness, mental health. When you're mentally okay, you're physically better. I've seen people get cured from things like fibromyalgia. My apologies. I've seen MS patients now that MS is more, common, unfortunately, than it used to be when my mom got diagnosed. I've seen MS patients be able to operate more normally. I have seen, I have osteoarthritis. I've seen the pain with osteoarthritis settle a little bit more because our stress is lower. I know that if I allow myself to become overwhelmed, burnout, and stressed again, the pain in my body is going to get a lot worse because that's what happens. Okay. Your peace is part of your wealth. The third thing I want you to do, build income streams that align with your values and desired lifestyle. And if you're an employee, I want you to advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. I found a letter I wrote to one of my supervisors when I was stationed at RAF Mildenhall in England back in the day. And I was advocating for myself. And I was reading this letter and I was just like, wow, wonder why I stopped doing that. It was like 2005. I was just like, oh, I used to actually stand up for myself. That's awesome. Why did I stop doing that? People pleaser. All right. So I want you to negotiate for balance, flexibility, or growth opportunities that keep you aligned with your purpose. And for my fellow business owners, I love you guys. We're a different breed. Set systems so your business supports your life, not the other way around. I'm in the process of doing that now. It's not there yet, but begin. Figure out two things you can implement this week. It's a new week that will help your business run more on an autopilot. Why do you think I created the group coaching? You guys can go in there and get whatever you want. I don't have to be there all the time. Create a system, create something that allows you to spend more time with your family, spend more time with yourself, and keep the enjoyment with what you do. So here's three things that I want you to journal. Okay. If you're taking notes, take notes. If you want to watch this later, great. Thank you for watching, by the way. The first thing is, what does peace look like for me right now? Write that down. What does peace look like for me right now? I want you to visualize it. In the Cortina method, when I went through that, we visualized peace and we had a logo. And my logo was a seagull. And I think because the reason I chose the seagull, I know I'm not think, but I know the reason I chose the seagull was because peace for me is being at the beach, listening to the waves crash. That's where I always found my peace as a young girl, as a teenager when I started writing. That was where I found my peace. It was at the beach. It was listening to the waves. That was peace for me. So I want you to visualize that and then I want you to begin writing it. Or just write that down. What is your logo? What is that thing you're going to think of when you think of peace? And what represents peace for you? Number two, how does my current paycheck support or sabotage my peace? Is it supporting the peace or is it sabotaging the peace? Is it the first brokerage I joined or is it the one I'm in now? Number three, what would I do differently if I fully lived in my purpose? I'm still learning how to get there, and I'm grateful for the coaching programs that I'm in that are helping me get there. I have great coaches. What would I do differently? Is there anything I would do differently? For me, I had to, oh, it was difficult, you guys, but I had to separate myself from just being the personal trainer nutritionist and understand that it was bigger. I wanted more. I wanted to be able to help people on a different level. I knew that even though we can go to the gym and work out and track our foods and do the things, if we're stressed out, we're still not we're still not well. We're not okay. And we don't stick with it. So I just knew there was more. I knew that I needed to help people with time blocking, with setting boundaries, with not people pleasing, and with learning how to protect their peace. I knew those things. So when I was making that transition, those are the things I had to think about. What would I do differently? The real cost of living isn't our rent, our mortgage, or our car payment. It's the price we pay when our paychecks cost us more than our peace and our purpose. So I'm going to leave you with this. I want you to choose wisely. Power of choice. That's what we talked about at the youth conference up in Atlanta not too long ago. I have shirts, hashtag power of choice. Okay. Everything is a choice. We have decisions to make, and they're not always easy decisions. I promise you, if you actually go into some of the decisions that I made in 2024, you'll be like, and I'm still having to make difficult decisions. I'm still having to be uncomfortable. Show up for you. Choose wisely. I appreciate you guys for sticking in there with me. I know I went super long. I mean, this was like a whole podcast, you guys. But I know that there's a lot of things that I've gone through, and I know that other people are either dealing with them, going through them, have gone through them, or will go through them. So part of my purpose is to share. So I appreciate you for sticking here with me and allowing me to share and just, keep showing up for you. Keep understanding that as long as you're operating in your purpose, no one can take your peace away. And as long as you do that, everything else that you desire, the paycheck, the purpose, and the peace, it'll be there for you. Just keep going. No matter how hard it gets, no matter what challenges you face, because you will, I promise, you keep going. Because when you know you're operating in your purpose, no one can stop you except for you. And that's your choice. Have a blessed day, you guys. Thank you for showing up. Share this with somebody else who needs to hear it and have a super great week, as a matter of fact, not just day, week. And hopefully, I'll see you guys next week. I will actually be flying though, so I probably won't be able to do it on Monday. most likely Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. I will be flying back from Phoenix, Arizona, back to Florida. So I'm not really sure if I'll be able to get on here next week, but I will play that by ear and I will definitely let you guys know by Sunday if we're going to change it up. It might be a Tuesday tips type thing. We'll see how that goes. But thanks again for showing up. Make sure you share this with someone who needs it. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell,